This week on the Pro Wrestling Podcast, Triple H talks about his health issues recently and announces his retirement officially from professional wrestling. MJF loves WWE. Fucking loves it. Chris Jericho files for every single trademark under the sun. And Eddie Kingston on his rocky road to the top. I'm your host, Seth Grimes, and this is the Pro Wrestling Podcast. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. We are live as live can be for a totally taped and post-produced show. I'm your host, Seth Grimes, here with you as always on this beautiful day. Here to talk with you about some wrestling. And oh boy, do we got a big old week full of jam-packed goodies for you guys this week. Kicking things off with the announcement from Triple H in our top story today. Triple H announces his retirement. This was on ESPN with Stephen A. Smith on Stephen A's World. This is on their ESPN Plus platform. The interview with Triple H broke news all over the internet this past Friday. Check out this clip of Triple H not only talking about his heart condition, but about the future of professional wrestling as Triple H the performer. Check this out.
I had a viral pneumonia. My lungs were inflamed, and as the next couple of days went on, when I got home, it got increasingly worse, and my wife saw some blood and stuff that I was coughing up, and went and got checked. And it was coming from the viral pneumonia, but I had fluid in my lungs. I had some fluid around my heart. Basically, the way your heart pumps out, 55 to 60% of your ejection fractures is a good number. I was at 30, and I got a quick text message saying, "Don't take time, pack a bag real quick, head to the emergency room. I'll fill you in on the way." So by the time I got to the emergency room, my ejection fracture had gone down to 22, which, I was in heart failure. Wow. Bad. When they tell you it's 99%, it gets real. We have 3 young girls. There's moments in there where when they're putting you out for stuff and you think, is this it? Do you wake up for this?
What does the future hold for Triple H right now? That's what people want to know.
Yeah.
What do you say to them when asked that question?
Well, for me, as far as in-ring, which I get a lot, I'm done.
You'll never fight.
I won't. No, I would never wrestle again. First of all, I have a defibrillator in my chest, which,
Man, this one kind of hit me a little bit when I heard this. Like, you never fully appreciate people until they're gone. And not that Triple H is gone, like dead, right? But came damn close, according to that clip. Jesus. Apparently, according to Meltzer, that Triple H's heart still isn't in top condition. It's not like everything's fine now and he's fixed up or anything. He's still got to kind of take things easy going forward. Everything from his workout routine to everything he does, essentially. I believe he's got a stint or something in his heart as well. Poor guy, though. And what a career. And this is why it stung a little bit, is because as much as we like to bury Triple H as internet fans, and as much as we like to kind of buy in that Triple H buries everybody else, and as much as he did bury everybody else, it's well documented. He wasn't the nicest guy to be around in the wrestling business. He was very politically savvy, very cutthroat, wasn't afraid to put in a bad word for you and kind of cut you out from the knees. But again, that kind of happened at a time when that was the industry. You know, it was so much less in his era, the roster of just entertainers. You know what I mean? I mean, that's at its core, that's what wrestling always was. But he still came from an era where it was the boys in the locker room, and it was an industry where you had to kind of play the game a little bit. And you probably do to a certain extent still, but Triple H was the master during the times where it was most, most prevalent in the business, in my opinion. And Triple H in ring, but like, as much as we criticize Triple H for all of that, all the negatives, look at his in-ring work, his in-ring body of work. Now that he's retired, and you can sit back and look at the full body of work and kind of respect it and appreciate that he's not coming back now. Not going to be, on a random Saudi show or WrestleMania fucking 41. He's done. He's out of it. So, looking back on his body of work, Triple H was one of the greatest of all times. I don't know how anybody could look at any of Triple H's matches and his overall body of work and not say that, yeah, that man had a hell of a career. And was some of it, politically driven? Was the reason that Triple H is, a 14-time world champion? 14 or 15? The reason why he's reached that level and main evented so much could be because he's the boss's daughter's husband. He is Mr. Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. But he, incredible body work, going all the way back to Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Like his matches with Goldust that he used to have. He had good matches with even like Henry Godwin. Like that slap match was entertaining to watch. And you move forward up into where, he starts kind of turning towards the DX a little bit. And he's having matches with like Owen Hart. And he's having matches with Ken Shamrock. All the way up to The Game, right? WrestleMania 17, his match with The Undertaker. WrestleMania 16, the 4-way. WrestleMania 17 with The Undertaker. As well as 28, and was it 27 and 28? He also worked The Undertaker. 28 being the Hell in the Cell. He had great matches with Batista. He made Batista. For all the Triple H buries everybody and holds everybody down, he made Batista. He made a fucking star out of Batista. Remember, he did his damnedest for the Ultimate Warrior when Ultimate Warrior came back at WrestleMania 12. Triple H took the job like a champ. But as he got into his older career and he really reached his prime, the McMahon Helmsley era, is that what the McMahon Helmsley era was kind of Triple H's coming out party. He had done the DX even, and he was a star by the time he got to DX. He was a mid-carder as Hunter Hearst Helmsley when he kind of morphed into Triple H and started teaming up with Shawn Michaels doing the DX thing. That's when Triple H leveled up. But when he turned on DX, with him and China did that swerve, was that at WrestleMania 15? Is that where they did the swerveroo where he turned on DX? When he just became the Game. It's all about the game and how you play it. The McMahon Helmsley era. He was a boss. Like, even though he was dating the boss's daughter, literally, you could say, oh, it was handed to him, but the dude delivered, right? Triple H was a massive talent. Was he, in my opinion, pushed a little bit more than he should have been? Like, I don't consider... Look, Triple H is definitely one of the greatest of all time. And that's kind of where we're going with this. His body of work has proven that he is absolutely a fucking Hall of Fame legend, right? Hands down, one of the greatest of all times. I do think he was a little over pushed throughout his career, and in certain times held other people down that probably could have taken a good push and run with it. Look at his match at WrestleMania. Was it 18 with Booker T, or was that 19? I believe 19. 18 or 19. He did his match with Booker T. And Booker T should have won that title, right? So there were times where that happened. I think he, tried to stick it to Jericho a few times too. Matter of fact, I do believe that, according to Jericho anyway, Triple H is the reason that Jericho wasn't in the main event at that four-way, the McMahon in every corner at WrestleMania 16. But it's undeniable that even despite maybe being overly pushed or being shown favoritism or him kind of holding down and burying other talent that might have been able to peek up above him, it's still undeniable that his entire body of work, the matches that this guy's had, the blood, the sweat that he's laid out on that mat for our entertainment, period, for the art of wrestling. Triple H never, for all you could say about his politicking backstage, Triple H never once shorted us as fans in the ring. He gave it 110%. Even when he blew out his fucking, was his quad? Is that what happened in that match? That he blew out his quad, but he still had to finish the fucking match. And remember that major fucking return he did in Madison Square Garden after he returned from that injury, and he's fucking the pop that he got in the Garden that basically turned him babyface. I think he healed on him that night, but he got that massive return reaction. And that's how you knew the fans loved and respected him, despite him being a dastardly heel, right? And kind of a snaky politician backstage. You knew that he had the fans' respect. And Triple H delivered every single match. He was maybe not the match of the night. Triple H to a certain extent had his style of match. And I don't want to say it was paint by numbers by any extent, because he had some masterful matches. But you kind of knew what you were getting with Triple H. And I don't know that he was ever a 5-star match talent, other than maybe a few matches here and there, like definitely with The Undertaker, that kind of thing. But he was consistently a 3.5, 4-star match guy, right? Top of the line. Always delivered. Always worked hard. Always had great matches. His matches with Batista were really good. You go back and watch that WrestleMania 21 match with him and Batista. He made Batista. He absolutely made Batista. And yes, they were friends doing the buddy favor thing, but Batista and Batista wanted to return the favor and go back and work Triple H one more time. He was politicking for that. I don't remember. Once they get to the 30s, they all kind of blend in for me, to be 100% honest with you. Speaking of 30s, he had that match at WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan. Good old Bryan Danielson. Dan. We'll just call him Dan like Randy does. Hey, Dan. But he's going to be missed as an in-ring performer. I don't care what anybody says. Even all the way up to, dude, look at his match, him and Steph against Kurt and Ronda. What was that, WrestleMania 31 or 2 or 3? Like I said, they all kind of blend in after 30 to me. But he had his other match with Batista, which was kind of meh. He had a match with Roman Reigns, which was kind of meh. And that's why I say he's never like the 5-star guy. His matches can be kind of long and plotting sometimes and a little stale. But overall, like, just a fucking genius. That match with Ronda and Steph. Steph was always a great worker too. Highly underrated as a women's wrestler. Like, she's just like Vince in her own way. She's no like catch can technical fucking wizard. But she can go out and have a serviceably entertaining match as just a heel bitch. You know what I mean? She'll smack you around, she'll kick you and stuff, and she'll take bumps and she'll feed those comebacks and you know what I mean? Like, Steph was a good worker too, and that I think, is a reflection of Triple H to an extent. That match that they had with Kurt and Ronda is an all-time classic. I don't care what anybody says. So, looking back at history, everything that Triple H has accomplished, he had that match with Sting at a WrestleMania. That was kind of meh too, and he shouldn't have won that. So there's certain examples where Triple H is very Triple H-y in either the match delivery or just the outcome. You know, there's a long history of that, but overall, I think it's fucking undeniable that when you look back at Triple H's career, that this man was a fucking legend. He was an amazing entertainer. He was a high-level, top-tier talent. Once in a lifetime, once in a generation, maybe. Just elite talent, right? And then going to his work in NXT, and I don't know that he'll be back in a backstage capacity even at this point. You know, like, people think, like, it's easy to say, well, he's not in the ring, so it's not stress, but you don't think, like, running NXT was a high-stress job? Or a fucking, 15-hour, 16-hour day of getting there early in the morning, going over the promos, just fucking everything, working with talents from start to finish, development. He walks through their entrances with them. It's a big job, and I don't think with Triple H's heart condition, I don't know what he's going to be up to going forward, or how much we're going to see of him going forward, but, from his in-ring work to his behind-the-scenes work in NXT, I mean, his era of NXT was undeniable. Undeniable, wasn't it? I mean, when NXT transitioned from the game show to, there were those early years with, like, the Wyatts and stuff, and you could see some sparks of, it was still FCW-ish, right? And even reminiscent of 2.0 now. But then there was an era where NXT became the top indie promotion, essentially. They kind of took over Ring of Honor and took over, like, the wrestling fans love. There's the sports entertainment fans, and then there's the wrestling fans. And Triple H was able to tap into that. And I think we're all kind of excited to see Triple H take over WWE someday when Vince steps down. But we all know Vince is never going to step down. He will die on the job, if not be a head in a jar, preserved via technology that he can afford that we can't, and just continue to live on forever. Who knows? But I'll go ahead and wrap up this segment here. Been ranting on Triple H for a while, but just overall, man, much love and respect and sadness that his career's done. He's had ups, he's had downs. There's lots of good, lots of bad. But overall, like, you can honestly say that the man worked his ass off for us to be the very best that he could be. And he was amazing. An elite, top tier, Hall of Fame level, all-time talent. MJF landed a huge interview this week with Ariel Helwani. If you're not familiar with Ariel, he does a lot of big interviews in the world of MMA, mixed martial arts. He does also do interviews with professional wrestlers from time to time. But he had MJF on his show this week, and MJF absolutely delivered. Of course, pure, raw MJF form. But it was this particular clip here where he talks about WWE that kind of made some buzz on the internet this week. Check out this clip.
What do you think AEW is doing right now that WWE isn't doing?
See, I think WWE is doing great. I love everything WWE is doing. I just think we're fresh and we have fresh faces that people haven't seen before. I think everything right now that Bruce Pritchard and Vince are putting out there is absolutely incredible. I love it. I love NXT 2.0. I love Raw. I love SmackDown. I love what Roman's doing. I think Roman's putting out some great work. Paul Heyman, fellow member of the Tribe, absolutely killing it. Sorry about what's going on with Brock. You deserve better than that. I think they're putting out a great product. I think the big differential is, quite frankly, is AEW has MJF. I think that's the biggest difference maker you could possibly have. So
you said earlier, everything I say is the truth. I actually feel like this is a promo right here. Like, I actually
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I genuinely
you genuinely love NXT 2.0?
It's great.
What is great about it?
It's great. I mean, honestly, there's so many charisma machines on that program. There is. I don't know why you're laughing. I think it's a great show.
This motherfucker just say that he thinks NXT 2.0 is great? Even Ariel Helwani had to like question him and be like, wait, what? Are you being serious right now? Clearly you're joking. NXT 2.0 is doing great? I think this is just part of the heel shtick, to be honest with you. Now, we had covered this a couple weeks ago, probably. MJF's been talking, and this was kind of part of that greater conversation with Ariel as well. Is MJF's been talking all about this, the 2024 contract negotiation war, right? Like the bidding war. He really, really wants to put it out there that he's on the table for WWE to take if the money's right. And he is. He probably is. I'm sure he is. He said it in this interview. Like, it's all about money. Like, I'm not, he was asked, like, does any part of him want to go to WWE just basically to say he did it? And he's like, no. He's like, I loved WWE as a kid, but now that I'm a grown man, this is business. I'm in the wrestling business. And that's about making money. So I'm going to go wherever the money is paying me, whether it's AEW, WWE, or somewhere else. Who knows? WWE will make him an offer. And I've always said that I don't want to see him in WWE because I don't think he's not going to be able to do, unless they have like a Attitude Era 2.0, they're never going to be able to let MJF live up to his full potential. Because part of MJF's charm is being over too much. He goes too far. He's says the things that nobody else has the balls to say. He goes the extra yard to be a heel, which he is not going to be allowed to do in WWE. But he has the talent range where he can tone it down, I'm sure, and he will. I'm sure nobody's ever asked him about that in an interview. I would love to hear that. As far as like, you're going to have to tone it down when you go over there. So are you open to that? I'm sure he is. And I'm sure he can do it. He's talented as fuck. But for him to say that NXT 2.0 is doing great, like, this has to be part of a heel shtick, right? Like, this is to get heat. Like, oh yeah, I love WWE. They're great. All of their storylines are amazing. Everything they're doing, they're knocking it out of the park. I love their shows. It has to be joking. WWE is so bad. It's so bad. I'll tell you what's good. Roman Reigns is fucking killing it. Brock Lesnar is fucking killing it. Right? These guys are nailing their shit. Edge is doing good. You know what I mean? But like, overall, WWE is still so WWE. It's makes you want to rip your hair out of your head, right? And NXT 2.0 is the fucking shining beacon of an example of that. Other than like a Braun Breaker, what's NXT 2.0 got? It's got that chick with the fat ass. What's her name? Nikita? Something like that. Holy shit, that woman. Wow. But, I mean, for the most part, NXT is meh. So, MJF being so MJF this whole interview, fucking great. Especially with Ariel Helwani, because Ariel he's interviewed some big stars. He gets great interviews, and he is, regarded as a fairly serious journalist. So, and he wasn't fazed. He loves it. He understands what MJF's doing. Like, MJF, just all his in all his MJF glory. I would seek this one out too. It's on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, I have put the clip in the description below for you. So, if you're watching on a clip, go check that out. If you're watching the full episode, go find the clip, fucker. I continue to pull from this Wrestling with Freddie podcast because they keep putting out gold. This week on Freddie Prinze Jr.'s podcast, Wrestling with Freddie, Freddie Prinze sat down with Eddie fucking Kingston. Think about that sentence for a minute, too. Hollywood boy, Freddie Prinze Jr., right? Fucking Scooby-Doo, sitting down with Eddie fucking Newport, packing Newport's Kingston, right? But it was great. What a fucking conversation. These two hit it off too. They seemed like they broed down like instantly. It was fun. Fun fun show to listen to. Check out this clip that I snipped out here of Eddie Kingston talking about his indie career, right? His rise to the top, because he took a long, hard road to get here. Check out this clip.
Yeah, my career before AEW was one step forward, four steps back, because I would just shoot myself in the foot because of my temper and my other health, mental health issues where, you know what I mean? There was a period in time, I think in 2007, 2008, where, I was on a roll. I was at all these big indies like Ring of Honor, PWG. I was wrestling every weekend, 3 times, 4 times a week. And then I would just get in my own head saying, I don't deserve this. Next, I'm drinking and I'm sitting in the Tombs in New York in the drunk tank, missing flights. And then I would just come back again. Everyone would be like, oh, we're so happy you're back on track. And then I would go right off. Again, either someone pisses me off in the locker room and I'm screaming and yelling, or a promoter tells me to do something, or a promoter doesn't pay me right and I'm going to the cash box to take the money from them, you know what I mean? And then you get a bad reputation. And, also my body, I'm not going to lie, I was almost 300 pounds at one point because I just didn't work out. I was just fighting, you know what I mean? So my career is it's up and down, and I'm my own worst enemy. That's been my career. Even at AEW, there's moments, man. I tell people all the time, man, there's moments where old Eddie, 20-something, 30-something-year-old Eddie's whispering in my ear, like, nah, go ahead, man. Do your thing. Blow it all away.
Yeah, like I said, Eddie had a long, hard road to get to AEW. And so far, he hasn't blown AEW, but he mentioned that he's thought about it a few times, There's been a couple times he had to restrain himself from going off backstage. But I'm so glad that Eddie found a home in AEW, because listen to this story, and it was so perfectly laid out with his feud with Jericho. When Jericho's like, I was main eventing by the time I was 23 in other countries and shit. And Eddie Kingston now just, breaking 40 is just now getting into mainstream, he's reaching the top level of professional wrestling. But his story's so great because of that. I love he came up the back road. He did it his own way. Not that Jericho didn't, but sometimes guys get those opportunities young, and Eddie's like a guy who he's a journeyman of journeymen. He's an old school guy in a modern era. He has worked his ass off on the indies for years. And a lot of it's his own fault, as he says in this clip that we just listened to, Eddie's always had an attitude problem. He's always had, anxiety, and he's always like a hothead, and he just kind of got a mouth that's hard to keep shut sometimes. And I love that and respect that, because that's been me often, and like that was me in school. Always getting kicked out of classes and stuff for my mouth, popping off at teachers and shit. Jobs, getting in trouble at work and stuff sometimes because I speak my mind. I'm not afraid to not bite my tongue, I think it, I say it. And Eddie's that guy, and Eddie got himself into a lot of trouble by calling people out or getting into spats with promoters. He talks about not getting paid what he was promised and going for the fucking box, the cash box at the door for the tickets. That's funny shit. That's funny shit. Always pay your fucking wrestlers, you indie douchebags, by the way. Listen, if you gotta take a loss, you are the last person to get paid, not the first, you fuck. Pay the wrestlers what you promised to pay them. Sidebar. Anyway. But I respect the fuck out of Eddie Kingston. I love that he took the back road to get up. I love that he is shining like the fucking diamond that he is right now, because even though he is a pack of Newports, Eddie Kingston he's our pack of Newports, right? And he can talk. He has the most gifted tongue in professional wrestling as far as cutting these promos that you just believe. And he says in this interview with Freddie too, that his promos are all real. Like, he draws from inspiration. He always finds a way, and when you listen to him, you can hear that, because he always finds a way to tie it to his life growing up in the streets. He had that hard life growing up. He's been through some shit. He's seen some shit. He lived the street life, that culture. He didn't come from privilege. So to see that, to apply that into his promos, the way he's able to, the masterful work he did with Punk. Do you remember that? Do you remember how fucking masterful that in-ring standoff sold that match with Eddie Kingston? Like, I think it was on pay-per-view, wasn't it? Yeah, they had their match on pay-per-view. That shit was sold on Eddie Kingston's promo work, more than Punk's even. Eddie nailed it. And then Jericho, too, his match with Jericho on pay-per-view. Kingston can cut a promo and sell a match, sell a fight like no other. But I highly recommend, go out of your way. Again, like I've been saying that a lot on this podcast, like, go out of your way, like, go out of your way to fucking watch this clip, or to go out of your way to listen to this interview with Freddie Prinze Jr. and Eddie Kingston. Great shit. Freddie's, like I said, his podcast always delivers. Eddie always delivers. You can't go wrong with either one of them when you see them pop up in your podcast app. Chris Jericho had a very interesting podcast episode on Talk is Jericho this week. Not the cult one, but that was fun too. But I'm talking about the Wednesday episode of Talk is Jericho. Jericho was on with a trademark lawyer, talking all about trademarking wrestling names and that kind of shit, gimmick stuff. Check out this clip.
It's strange to me. But like I said, we can talk as much as you want to talk about this. When I came to AEW, and we talked earlier right here on this show that I mentioned, I have owned the name Chris Jericho since late 98. Been using it since my very first match, October 2nd, 1990.
Yep.
Have the program from Ponoka, Alberta to prove it. When I left WWE, you found out that they had trademarked my name in every single country that either I had been or that they run their TV in.
Yeah, so they have, this is it's evil genius is the term I'll use. Evil genius on their part. They make as part of their contracts, okay, Chris, you list out everything that's yours, that you own, the wrestler IP. Then you would have listed in the end,
You're right.
Chris Jericho and any of those things that Jericho and
Talk is Jericho.
Yeah.
I think the Millennium Man was in there. Some very random was Y2J Bug or some shit like that.
Right. Like, Lion Salt you might have put in there, things like that.
Yeah, right.
And they say, that's great. You own that. But then they put this provision in their agreement. These agreements are 30 pages long, as you know. They're long as hell. And one of the provisions says, you agree that while you are here with us, we have the right to file in our own name for your IP. So they're able to, by contract, because you agreed to let them, and everybody agrees. I'm not saying Chris Jericho screwed up. It's just part of their common contract that says they can file for your IP owned by WWE. So that's while you're under contract.
Right.
So then when you're not under contract, they're not allowed to own it anymore. The problem is most people forget, don't look into it, don't do it, go back and say, well, what did they protect? And so when you and I started working together, I said, well, yeah, you do own Chris Jericho. You're right. So do they.
Yeah, I loved this episode. And this is why I love Talk is Jericho. I think I mentioned last week how Chris just signed a deal with Sirius. And he's going to be on the Sirius. Talk is Jericho is going to be on Sirius satellite radio. So to me, that makes me wonder, is it going to be taken off the podcast feed then? Is it going to be exclusive? Are we going to have to pay for it? I'm worried about that because I love this show. Just the fun. He's got such a variety of shit that he puts on the show constantly, from the cult victim on Friday, but that's not wrestling related. So we're not going to cover that kind of stuff here, but the trademark thing, like, what a fucking interesting podcast to sit and listen to. And I've always wondered stuff like that. And little things, too. We got little gems out of this podcast. Like the guys that, when they get released and they change their name to be just a small variant of what they already are. Like Enzo, for example, they talked about. He changed his name to Enzo. He's basically still Enzo. It's just spelled different. Eugene does that. Instead of being Eugene like he was in the WWE, he's U, the letter U, dash Gene. And shit like that. Like, that's not legal. Like, you can't you can't just change the spelling of it. That has no bearing at all. WWE could still absolutely shut that shit down if they wanted to, and that was fun to know. I didn't know that personally. I thought you could get away with that because that's what guys are doing, right? Even Cesaro filed for what? SCRO, Cesaro, or SZRO. So we'll basically say Cesaro still, but it won't be spelled the same way or whatever. Things like that. I mean, that's at WWE's discretion, but just an incredible, fascinating interview about how that stuff's done, you know, in how it applies in business and in how it works, like how you can hold a copyright in certain countries or even states. You know, I use it in Texas. You know, I'm a wrestler in Texas, so you can't trademark my name in Texas, but you could trademark it in fucking Louisiana, right? Just randomly. So, just so fascinating. And then the little bit of insight into like how WWE's just snaky as fuck, like how their contracts. And I don't know that this in itself is snaky as far as like their contracts ask you to, for the duration of your contract, sign over your trademarks to WWE for business use, not to own forever, but to use so that they can make your t-shirts and that they can make your fucking, get your gimmick out there, you know what I mean? So that part makes sense. But then like they talked about how WWE will like just, oops, I forgot to sign off on those and release those back to you. So they still will technically own it unless you go say something to them, because they're not going to say something to you or proactively sign it back over to you. So little things like that is fun. Or I loved how this guy, like, he kind of sounded like he wasn't trying to take shots at WWE, but he took several. Just talking about how they're kind of a shady company and how he's won some battles over them before. One of them he talked about was for Billy Gunn, actually. Billy Gunn had received a cease and desist, I believe, for using Billy Gunn on TV. But he was able to kind of fight through that, and they were able to slip back, getting him to use the name Billy Gunn on TV. Talked about Cody Rhodes a little bit with the Cody when he was just Cody because he couldn't use Rhodes. And how it's fun because it goes back to who used the trademark first. Even if it wasn't filed, you could argue that there was precedent set first. So like Cody apparently wrestled in college under the name Cody Rhodes. Like he wasn't Cody Runnels even as a collegiate wrestler. Like when he went and did the finals or whatever, he wrestled under Cody Rhodes. And because he did that, there was legal precedent for him calling himself Cody Rhodes before he ever went to the WWE and shit like that. I mean, it's, to me, some of you might not give a fuck, you know, give me my wrestling. I want to just hear about wrestling shit. But to me, this was endlessly fascinating. I could have heard another hour of this stuff easily. But I get into all that random. I like those fun little sidebar things. You know, I like learning about the legalities of professional wrestling. And it's great to know. It's good shit to know as far as trademark law and copyright and all that stuff. So good to know, good to hear, fascinating. Go out of your way to listen to that. If any of this piques your interest at all and you're like curious about it, highly recommend, because nothing I say here is going to do that conversation justice. I can give you a little clippets and thoughts on those clippets and that sort of thing, but really just listen to that trademark lawyer talk and how he explains the processes and how he's gone to bat with WWE a few times and works for a lot of the AEW talent now, getting them all trademarked up and stuff. So great shit. As always, talk is Jericho. Go check that shit out. Well, BTE's been having its fun with the whole Cody Rhodes leaving AEW thing. Over on Sammy's vlog, they had a funeral. A funeral for the late, dearly passed Fuego number 2. Check out this clip.
About that. I first met him in 2016, and I actually flipped him off at a charity show, and we laugh about that so much now, or we did. And it's gonna be weird not being able to go in his office and steal energy drinks or just go hang out with him. You know, it's gonna be different around here. You know, he put me over on the way out. He told me when I first got to this company that, you know, I was gonna be hired. He's one of the nicest guys. Whatever the internet wants to say about him, he has a special place in my heart, and I'll forever be thankful for his friendship and for him. I'm really gonna miss Cody. This is a fucking funeral for Fuego 2?
It's a sad day here in All Elite Wrestling. Fuego 2. Too fast, too Fuego, no more.
Yeah, even though they took the comedy spin at the end of it, you know, and made it into a skit, which was awesome and funny, those were real words from Sammy to Cody. You know, and he even said, "I'll miss you, Cody." And Cody had a huge hand in a lot of those talents in AEW, especially those on the vlog crew. He was a big proponent of Sammy, helping him get into AEW. He was a big proponent for Fuego. Fuego joined the Nightmare Factory or family or whatever the fuck it was called for a certain amount of time. In that video, he was wearing his Nightmare jacket. You know, Cody did the Fuego 2 with Fuego. I mean, he was critical, I think, in probably getting Fuego an opportunity to get signed. You know, they did lots of skits on the vlog about getting them a deal, you know, or who's going to join the Nightmare family. And then like your Aaron Solos and Cody just... His influence in AEW, and Jericho had said it, you know, as much as Jericho's been kind of taking his shots too. He flat out said, you know, Cody's fingerprints are going to be all over AEW for years to come. And that's why, you know, I really did take it to heart when Cody left. I mean, honestly, I'm excited to see him debut now. Like, obviously, like, I want to see... Everybody loves those jump ship moments, right? Where the WCW guy shows up on Monday Night Raw, and then the Monday Night Raw guy shows up on Nitro. And fucking... Now we get to see our first... We've seen lots of WWE guys show up in AEW, but this is the first AEW guy to show up in WWE. And yeah, Cody was a WWE guy before, but he was a different person in WWE. The American Nightmare has never stepped foot in a WWE ring. We've had Cody Rhodes, the son of the fucking Dusty, you know, won a legacy under Randy Orton, just one of the young boys. We've seen Dashing Cody. We've seen the fucking Stardust, but we've never seen the American Nightmare in WWE, and I think that's exactly what we're going to get. I don't think they're going to revamp him or change his look or anything like that. I think exactly we're going to get AEW Cody in WWE. And I'm all for it. But I got to tell you, he hurt my heart when he left AEW because he was such a big part of that company. And obviously had a huge impact on these guys. And it was just a fun little skit. You know, so if you get the chance, I always highly recommend watching these vlogs. BTE has not been great as of late, even though we do have a clip that we'll play next, actually, from BTE. But typically, BTE has not been so exciting. But Sammy's vlog, you know, has always been fire. You know, I've been watching that for about a year or so now. Took a dip since Ty Conti came around, though. I gotta tell you, like, she's killing it a little bit. But anyway, go out of your way to check out this. It's fun to watch. You know, watch it in its full form, the video form. Great shit. The very nice and very evil Danhausen made an appearance on the AEW Unrestricted podcast this week. Danhausen shows up quite a bit all over the internet, but being on the official AEW podcast was very fun, being interviewed by Aubrey Edwards and Tony Schiavone. Check out this clip. Danhausen talks about numerous things throughout this podcast. Obviously, in character, of course. But this particular clip was Danhausen's thoughts on AEW or Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor, as Danhausen just came from Ring of Honor. Check out this clip.
So what's your thoughts about Tony Elite buying Ring of Honor? Any thoughts on that?
Oh, yes. Danhausen had lots of thoughts. Dave Honor has been quite a menace in Danhausen's side for many years.
Mm-hmm.
So, he did not give in to almost any of his demands. So, right there, strike 3. And then, I think, Danhausen should be the owner of Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
You should give it to him. Because Danhausen also helped Wardlow win the Ring of Honor, which I think he cashed in this week. But he lost. Because they're menace. Danhausen's good for an MJF. Very rich, very evil. So, should get Tony. Danhausen will give him a new list of demands, which of course is Danhausen owns ROH. Should be quite wonderful. Stick it to him. Not Tony. Dave Honor. And yes, then Danhausen can make his own list of demands and write them off himself because he owns it.
Yeah, give it to Danhausen. Let him run it. And then he can just write off his blips and his blimps and stuff. His money bags. I love Danhausen, and I always because he's so strange and different. I always like to go into the comments on things like these and read what people are saying about him, because I kind of almost half fear that it's going to be a bunch of what the fuck is this guy and blah, 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 blah. But everybody seems to love Danhausen, and I hope people do. I'm sure some of you listening don't care for it, or, especially like the Jim Cornette types, even though I think he likes Danhausen personally. He probably is not going to be a fan of his wrestling stuff, right? But Danhausen, highly entertaining, a fucking super fun character, and it's the littlest things with Danhausen. He's so subtle, but great. His greatness is subtle. Like, he's just so like him and RJ City did. RJ City's got this this series on the AEW YouTube channels that he did leading up to Revolution, where he was like a taxi driver. And all these different wrestlers were getting in the car with him on the road to Revolution. Get it? Which was fun. It's a fun little YouTube skit. And a great use of RJ City, by the way. I should have reviewed that for this show too. But we'll throw it in here because he did one with Danhausen. And this was fucking gold. Absolute gold. They did another thing on AEW TV too. It was it was Hey. Hey, and then EW. So like Hey EW was the gimmick. And it's just so funny. Like Danhausen's just like the EW's like in parentheses. So Danhausen's like Hey EU. And RJ City, just the way they're playing off each other. Like I can't do it justice. It's not funny when I say it clearly, but like Danhausen is comedy gold. But he's subtle in it. He's not over the top. His character kind of is fairly realistic for being completely wacky and out there. He's over the top without going over the top. He's always calm. He never gets too excited unless he's ranting about something. He's never like overly silly, but he's ridiculous at the same time still. Like, I just love Danhausen. I love everything about that gimmick. I think it's great. And I'm glad it occurred to me too when I was watching these videos from in this listening to this podcast with Danhausen, and listening to Tony react to Danhausen on this podcast is great because Aubrey gets it. She understood who Danhausen is and everything, and I think Tony gets it, but he's older and maybe doesn't get it at the same time. Like, he's not like Jim Ross about it, right? He's not like, what the fuck is this weird shit? But Tony's like, you could tell Tony was a little bit like, didn't quite know what to think of Danhausen at times, which was also fun. But that's his shtick, and it's gold. And I'm glad, I was going to say, it had occurred to me listening and watching and just kind of taking in the Danhausen AEW content specifically on their YouTube channel, that Danhausen, I love that they just let him be Danhausen. He could never do what he's doing in WWE. They would change that shit so quick. plausibly he could have possibly ended up on an NXT and been able to get away with it. But I don't even think that would have. He just, Ring of Honor was his highest potential if he was not going to get signed to AEW. But the fact that they brought him in and they just I don't like what they're doing with him on TV. But I cut them slack with that just because he's not ready to wrestle yet. So they wanted to sign him and bring him in and utilize his character, which they're doing great on YouTube. Like, Danhausen's a big YouTube draw as is. Like, his YouTube channel gets tons of views. And AEW's smart. Their media, whether it's Tony or it's, just their people in their media production team, they know that they just need to put a camera in front of guys like Danhausen and RJ City and just record and put it up on YouTube, and it's going to be gold. Pure gold every single time. I like that they let him be Danhausen. I highly recommend you just kind of... Sometimes it's hard to find because AEW has so much content on their YouTube. It's kind of a needle in a haystack. But, if you come across these AEW... YouTube videos that they're putting out with Danhausen or RJ City, because he's got that series. He's got a car trip with. He does one with Statlander. He does one with Orange Cassidy. He does one with The Big Show, and all of these are just the comedy gold. So props to Danhausen. I hope he gets his blimp. I really, honest to God, hope we see a Danhausen blimp someday. Bags of money, sacks of monies. I hope he gets everything he deserves because he's fantastic. And I hope for you, the people that don't like it, don't get it. You're probably not going to win you over because you just don't like the showmanship in professional wrestling, the entertainment. You don't like entertainment. You want it to be a fucking 70s wrestling show, right? Just tough guys beating each other up. I get that. I understand where you're coming from. But if you like a little bit of entertainment with your wrestling, Danhausen, pure fucking gold. I came across this on YouTube while scrolling around. Wrestling related, but not a wrestling podcast. There was a clip from Dr. David Abassi. David Abassi has a YouTube channel where he does just talk about doctor stuff, but he likes to talk about doctor relevant incidents in the world of pop culture and entertainment. And of course, Scott Hall, being as big as he was and as well known as he was and impactful in the wrestling business, that it was a mainstream, it was mainstream news that Scott Hall passed away. So this was picked up by Dr. David Abassi. And he laid in his 2 cents on, from a doctor's perspective, on what transpired from hip injury to blood clot to, sadly, Scott Hall passing away. Check out this clip.
Starting with this unfortunate incident, he had a fall which resulted in a hip fracture. Usually that does require an operation to stabilize the hip because the hip doesn't have a great blood supply, but the fact that he needed a total hip replacement tells us it was a very severe hip fracture, which was displaced. And so when the bone separates, it loses that blood supply. So you're basically forced to do a hip replacement if you want any chance of walking again. Now, unfortunately, it sounds after that hip replacement operation, what was written was that he threw these blood clots. And so what they're likely referring to are deep vein thrombosis, or they're called DVTs. And those are blood clots that can form in the legs after medical procedures, or a person can develop blood clots in their legs without surgery as a result of injuries, or sometimes we don't know why they occur. But basically these deep vein thromboses, or these DVTs, as long as they stay in the legs, they're not very dangerous, and we can treat them with blood thinners, medical treatments. But if they dislodge from the legs and go up to the lungs, then we call them pulmonary embolisms, or PEs, and those are very, very dangerous. It can cause death. And how that happens is basically this blood clot goes up to your lung. The lung now is basically clogged up and unable to pump oxygenated blood to your heart. So your heart receives this oxygenated blood from the blood flow from the lungs. If the lung is clogged up, it is unable to do that. Now the heart is not getting oxygenation in blood, and it can have heart attacks. And we know that Scott Hall also had, the report said, multiple heart attacks. So that could have been the route to develop these heart attacks. Now, heart attack is basically when the heart is not getting enough oxygen, and now the heart is unable to do its job, which is to pump oxygenated blood to the rest of the body, including the limbs and including the brain. And so when he was placed on this life support, unfortunately was never able to get weaned off it, because it sounds like probably he underwent brain death because of the lack of the oxygenation likely to his brain and other vital organs. So really, really sad story. And when they took the life support off, unfortunately, he passed away shortly after that.
Yeah, I thought that was insightful coming from a doctor. You know, it's always, we hear Meltzer talk about the shit or Sean Ross Sapp, or we read it on whatever else. But, to hear a doctor's perspective on it, on what happened here and how this happens, and it's just sad. I mean, like, it really truly, like, puts in perspective how fragile and how special life is, right? Because we can go at any moment. Like, we mostly think like, if I get a heart attack because I'm, doing drugs, or I get really fat and cholesterol and all that shit. But like, nobody, I think until then, like, I guarantee you, none of us ever even mildly occurred to us that we could like fall and break a hip or some shit, and that would lead to our death. Like, the moment that Scott fell, landed on his hip, and it broke, that was his death sentence. And none of us think like that. None of us imagine that the littlest things like that could cause, like, I recently had a surgery, which was not a major surgery. It was one that I had to get put out for, where I had to be cut into and that kind of thing. But it was something that wasn't like high risk or anything like that. But honestly, when you're in those situations, like, you never know what can lead to your last fucking breath. So life's so precious, and it makes me think of that, and especially Scott. We covered it last week, so I won't go into everything that he meant to me and everything that he meant to the wrestling business. I do have that clipped out on YouTube and Rumble if you do want to go check that out. I also have a shorter version on TikTok if you just want to check out a quick short about it. But I did want to share this with you, though, just because I found it interesting myself. And, it's cool. You get things outside of the normal wrestling podcast sphere. When outsiders talk about wrestling, that's always newsworthy to a certain extent. And I just thought this YouTube doctor talking about Scott Hall was fun to share. Not fun, obviously, that it happened, but just a fun to have that outside perspective on our wrestling business that we love so much. Stu Grayson of the Dark Order cut a fuck of a promo on BTE this week. I didn't know he had it in him, but he let Adam Page have it. Check out this clip.
But we actually watched your match, and if you wanted to lose, you could have picked any of us. But we're really good at losing. That's what we do best. So you could at least done it with your friends, but you got to do it with a dinosaur and a guy from the jungle, wherever he's from.
Don't worry about that. Look, we get it. We're not upset. It's nothing.
Well, yeah, we're upset. What are you talking about? At least I'm upset, man. Dude, all we do is stand in the back while you get to be on TV. Dude, I don't even show up at half the Dynamite. No fucking difference on the show. That's how useless I am here, man. You get to freaking walk around with the belt. You get to be on TV. All we do is stay in the back when you get all the shine. I don't even get to wrestle. The one thing I do best in the world is pro wrestling, man. And that's the one thing I don't get to fucking do. So yeah, I'm upset, man. You could have chosen me and Uno, man. Now here I am, doing fucking nothing at catering. Again, that's where I spend my time, at catering, man.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's walk it off. Yeah, let's walk it off.
Let's just go get some.
Sorry, guys. No, hold on. No, get your ass back here. All of you, get your asses back here. You're standing just right behind the camera like you walk somewhere.
I was gonna go somewhere.
No, I don't think so. That's where you're not gonna talk to me like that. Actually, you know what? It doesn't matter what you said to me. I didn't understand a fucking word of it. Your mouth sounds like it's full of fucking poutine. Oh shit. Uno, you're fucking poutine. Okay?
Are you fucking serious, man? The best part of your personality was the alcohol.
I like this shoulder content for the main AEW TV shows. You know, this shoulder content kind of adds context. And yeah, it's a skit and it's just for fun and they're kind of having laughs with it at the end and stuff. But at the same time, like, it adds more to it so that when you see it on screen, it hits a little bit harder. You know, when you watch the shoulder content, you don't need it to watch the main show, but if you watch it, it enhances the main show, right? And Stu cut a fuck of a pro, like, he went off on Adam. And then Hangman comes back, he's like, I don't even know what the fuck you were talking about. It sounds like your mouth sounds like poutine. Oh, it was great. Just great shit. Like, just the disses back and forth. It's just good fun. BTE, the vlog, Sammy's vlog. Everybody's got one now. Danhausen's got a vlog. Fucking Ethan Page's got a vlog. Everybody's got a vlog. Thunder Rosa's got a vlog. The Bunny's got a vlog. But all of it's great shoulder content to watch and enjoy. And BTE, though it hasn't been as entertaining lately as it has been in its past, it's still killing it in a lot of segments. You know, it's still doing a lot of good stuff. They've been doing a thing where the Young Bucks have been trying to piss test Matt Hardy because he's acting a little bit weird. You know, so they're kind of poking fun at WWE trying to piss test Jeff Hardy again. And so they did a thing where Matt refused, so the Young Bucks actually like snuck into the bathroom behind him and scooped a cup of it out of the toilet and taste tested it. Oh my God. Funny. That's funny shit. But for the most part, you know, it's been slipping a little bit. But I thought this was a good segment, specifically just because of Stu, because Stu cut such a fucking passionate promo. Like, it was almost like he felt that shit. And I was kind of blown away watching him go. I was like, dude, where's this been on TV? You know what I mean? Like, get these guys on camera more. And, you know, I think a little bit of anger came out of that because he's, you know, like he said, you know, I've been sitting and catering. All I can do is pro wrestling. I can't do that. So, fantastic shit. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. So, if you want to see more of that kind of stuff, go check out BTE. That's Being the Elite, the Young Bucks YouTube show. That's all the show we got for you today, folks. Thank you so much, as always, for sticking around to the end. You are the ones I appreciate the most because you are the ones who stick with me, ride or die to the bitter end, and we are at the bitter end, which means, of course, it's time to shill out all the plugs. Shill. That's what we do here at the end of the show. Want to shill all the social media. Please follow me. Please like me. Please subscribe to me. My Twitter is severely underserviced. I got to post on there more. I got to get more followers. I got to up that shit. You know what I'm saying? Follow me on Twitter at Seth Grimes Media. You can find me on Facebook /Seth Grimes Media. I'm also on TikTok at Seth Grimes Media. You can also find the show on YouTube and on Rumble. Just search for Seth Grimes Media there. You can check out full episodes or just clips if you just want to kind of pick and choose what you want to listen to or go through some of the back issue stuff without having to listen to a full show. That's the way you're going to motherfucking do it. You can also just find the podcast on your podcast apps. We're everywhere. You can just find us just wherever you want to look for us. You know, whatever's convenient for you. Doing more clips on the TikTok. We're going to try to keep that going. Shorts as well on YouTube. So if you stumble across us through any of those platforms, welcome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. You can check out the pro wrestling inspired NFTs that I got going on. It is Cryptomania NFTs. You can find that at cryptomanianfts.com, or you could, that's NFTS. The Z is a S, not a Z, like the early 2000s. Or just search it on OpenSea. They are pro wrestlers like Funko Pops / action figures / trading cards. And they are inspired by some of your favorite wrestlers, loosely based on, I shall say, for copyright purposes. Trademark purposes, right, Chris Jericho? Fuck yeah. I also got another pro wrestling inspired NFT project under the Cryptomania banner that will not be the Wrestle Pals action figure trading card Funko Pop. It will be something different, and that is coming your way soon too. And I know a lot of you don't care about any of that shit, but you will in the future because NFTs are a thing. And they're going to be a thing. So that's just the way that life is. Also got a book, and you can check that out as well. It's The Gathering, a bold journey through the belly of the Juggalo underworld. It is a fiction novel about a dude that goes to a music festival, The Gathering of the Juggalos. It is fun, it's entertaining, it's funny. You can find it on Audible, Kindle, or Amazon, depending on how you want to partake in your reading, via tablet, via book in your hand, or through your earbuds. And that is all the plugs that I have for today. I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing, because I always got shit that I got going on. I got another podcast that I do from time to time as well. You can find that on a separate podcast feed. Just search Seth Grimes Media. Throw it in whatever you want to search if you want to find more of my content. If not, then I appreciate the time you have at least spent with me here. Thank you so much. Peace, love, and pizza. I am Seth Grimes, and this has been the Pro Wrestling Podcast. See, it's a podcast. You listen to it through your pod. You got your iPods, throw in your earbuds, barbecue sauce.